Hello and welcome to Five Quick Questions. Today we have my friend Vishnu Mohan on the show. Vishnu brings 7 years of recruitment experience with him, with specializations in IT, nuclear, pharma, and engineering. How are you doing today, Vishnu?
Hey, I'm doing well, Richard. Thank you for asking. How about you?
Doing great. Happy to have you on the show and for you to take the time out of your day to come hang out with us. So Vishnu, I've heard that when it comes to contract work, clients can be very strict in terms of the requirements that they expect from candidates, right? It
Yep.
could be for a limited term, it could be for a 6 or a 1 year contract, and they need someone walking into that role who knows what they're doing. They don't need a lot of training, they don't need a lot of support. Um, what advice could you give people who are thinking about, maybe applying to contract jobs? How do they showcase that experience and really show that they're job ready in the way that, clients might expect?
Oh no, I think Richard. This one question that we hear from candidates too. Hey, what am I missing? Because how did I miss the mark? And more often than not, the first thing that I tell them is tailor your resume. Every job is different. Every client is different. So if you present the same resume to 100 different clients, then you're doing the wrong thing because every client comes from a different industry looking for a different skill set. So you need to make sure that you read the job description and always prepare or tailor your resume based on the customer's need. So they always prefer looking at a resume through a control F lens. So it's very important that you use the right words in your resume so that it stands out. So it's something that I tell most of the candidates that I talk to. And one other thing is to quantify your achievements. So most of the times when a candidate writes their resume, they don't really use numbers or they don't use metrics to demonstrate the impact of their work. So one of the examples could be I increased the sales by 25%, which is like, that's quite impressive. So most of the times candidates don't really use numerical values to show the impact that they have had. So these
Yeah,
are some of the things that's on top of my mind.
that's great. And it makes me think just to give some context to the candidates out there. In some jobs, recruiters or client could receive hundreds of job applications, right? And it's a large amount of stuff to sift through. So it's one of the reasons people will do those keyword searches or whatever, right? To find people that
Yes.
have those relevant skills. And you can think similarly, when you're pouring through resumes, all day long, and you have one that pops up and it's got a whole bunch of KPIs built into it to say, these are my achievements, these are the numbers, these are the goals that I've hit, the metrics. Really easy to understand very quickly that's a quality candidate, that you don't have to sift through that information. So
Yes.
yeah, I think that's a great point. There's a lot of things you can do with your resume to really make it stick out that way, thinking about the volume of applications that company might be receiving.
Yes, while you actually mentioned, there was something that came to my mind, and it was about portfolios. A lot of times when you come from an IT field, if you are from the IT field, you always have your portfolios, or you have the sample of your work. I think it's very relevant and it's important that you have that in the resume or you have a link attached to it, because that's something that will make you differentiate from all the other candidates that's applying for the role. Or what, this candidate has its own portfolio, or has some case studies or sample of their work in the resume, which might be very different, and we don't find it that often in candidates resume. So that is a very good tip that we could, as a candidate, that you could use on your resume.
If there's somebody out there maybe who hasn't worked in contract before, maybe they're curious about contract, but maybe a little worried or concerned or unfamiliar with it, what advice would you give to someone who's on the fence about applying to a contract job? Maybe what are some of the benefits of working contract?
I really like this question, Richard, because as a recruiter, when I initially started, even though I was a recruiter, I was very hesitant about contract opportunities. I had this thing, oh wow, there's no real stability on the job. Would I find candidates? But as I started doing contract recruitment, something that I learned is this is even better than the perm roles that sometimes we get. To start with flexibility, I think one of the most important factors that the candidates push for lately has been flexibility. So contract provides you that flexibility compared to a traditional full-time employment. You can have better control on your schedule, the hours that you work, what type of projects you want to take. Clients, more often than not, when it comes to contract roles, they would always be looking at specialized skills for that project. So because of that, they're always paid higher than what you would probably make on a perm job. Through each contract, you'll be exposed to new processes, new ways of thinking. Uh, people with different ideas, cutting edge technologies. So, you always are in a path of continuous learning throughout the process. Contract opportunities, you could do a 12 months project, have a month off. Like you can plan your vacations without really thinking about, should I talk to somebody? Am I, should I worry about something? No, not really. Every time after your short-term projects or even a long-term project, you can plan your break. I think, as an individual, if somebody asks me, what is something that you would love? I would say, I want to take control. Take control of what I'm doing. And contract opportunities, exactly that. It lets you take control of your career, of the decisions that you're making, and most importantly, it lets you explore. What's your taste? You could go and explore and find it for yourself.
Next, thinking about some of the careers or job titles that might be well suited to contract work. So, I'm thinking, for instance, like an accountant or something. Like every company needs an accountant. You want your accountant to be a permanent employee because they need to know your financials. They need to be there for a long time. Probably not best to have a new main accountant coming into your company every 6 months or a year. Probably going to cause some problems. What are some of the job titles or careers or industries that are really well suited to contract work?
Richard, when you tell me that, you'd be surprised to know how many contract roles comes out for an accountant. It's so surprising
Yeah,
because,
well,
yes, I could name a few, but to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter. Contract opportunities are basically for everyone. You be an admin assistant, you be an executive assistant, you be an accountant, financial analyst, you be a developer, designer, architect, you name it. Every client these days are actually looking for contractors to come and join them for projects. So I feel it doesn't really you shouldn't be really stopping yourself because you feel what, my role may not have a lot of opportunity when it comes to contracts. Sometimes it might just surprise you.
So you touched on this a little bit before in terms of some of the mistakes you see on people's applications. You spoke a bit about not customizing, your resume for a specific application, things of that. Any other kind of very common mistakes that you see on applicants looking at contract jobs?
Oh yes, for sure. I think when I talk about the resume, I think one more thing I want to add there is looking at the job description. So what happens is that even though I'm a recruiter and I do understand, as a candidate, you might get hundreds of calls every day, but it's very important that you read through the job description. Sometimes you're creating resumes or you have a resume based on your convenience. What we want to make sure is it's convenient to the client when they look at it. So, failing to read job descriptions, not understanding the job description can lead to a mismatch between your qualification as well as the job requirement. We kind of advise people to have like a 4 to 5 page resumes max, because what they want to see is they want to see your experience based on the job that they're hiring for. They don't want to really see something outside scope. It's out of scope. If I'm a Java guy, even if I'm a client, I'm looking for a Java guy, I want to see specific experience to Java. So it's very important what you put on the resumes. If not, it becomes very difficult for the employers to extract relevant information. So as a candidate, we should ensure the resume is well organized, easy to read, and follow standard formatting guidelines. There have been a lot of times where a good interview preparation has helped candidates crack an interview who probably lacked a few skills.
Last question here. So, what do you have open right now, Vishnu, in terms of some interesting jobs or some roles you're trying to fill?
Oh, on the IT side, today morning we're discussing about a senior DevOps engineer that's out with one of our clients. It's an insurance firm, so we are looking to hire a senior DevOps engineer for them. That's based out of Ontario, so that's a hot priority that we're currently working on. We also have a couple of roles that we are working on in the US, in Massachusetts. So we have got a sourcing specialist that we are trying to fill, and also we have a couple of roles that's open in Ontario again on the nuclear side. This is to do with the pay and benefits, so pay manager. So we kind of have a diverse set of roles that's open. Also, if you're somebody who's looking for banking roles, we have a whole bunch of banking requirements that's open with our top clients like Scotias and RBCs. And I could, if I have to name a few, we have a data scientist, which is a really cool requirement that we're looking. We're trying to fill because it's with some latest technologies.
Great, Vishnu. Thanks so much for being on the show and for sharing your experience with the folks out there.
Oh no, this is a lovely conversation. I think I learned a lot while I was talking about this, because it was more of like, you know what, I'm just thinking, and I'm like, oh, you know what, this is something I should probably tell my next candidate. So it was a lovely call. Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me here.